You know why I always despised Joe Biden? Not just because the man provided unconditional support to Israel to carry out a brutal genocide of Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, but also because of his systematic appointments of Zionists at top positions in his administration. And mind you, this clown had come to power promising to fight Islamophobia and win over the trust of Muslims. His appointment of Antony Blinken as the Secretary of State, John Kirby as the National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications, whatever it means, and Matthew Miller as the spokesperson of the State Department represent the filthy legacy that this guy will be leaving in a few months' time. You and I have had to tolerate the utter nonsense peddled in their regular press conferences in the last 3.5 years. They have continued to break their own records of touching new lows on countless occasions in their desperation to justify Israeli genocide. Remember how these individuals have never been tired of blaming Hamas for the slaughter of over 40,000 innocent and unarmed Palestinians, 70% of them being children, babies, and women, even though these people have been massacred by Israel. They then blamed Iran for everything that's going on in the region. Iran, they said, was funding Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthis. We were then told that Iran was also helping Russia with sophisticated weaponry, including drones to attack Ukraine.
Russia is using Iranian drones to attack Ukrainian civilians. Drones that Russia procured from Iran in violation of Security Council Resolution 2231.
Now, both these clowns in the State Department and the White House would have us believe that Iran has become so powerful that it's causing unrest inside the United States of America. Yes, you heard it right. Both these individuals told the world media on Thursday that the university protests against the Israeli genocide up and down America were being funded by Iran.
On the just pivoting to his address to Congress, I mean, you mentioned that he didn't say anything that would affect hostage ceasefire talks, but he did say some pretty derogatory things about US protesters, having mentioned that this is a citadel of democracy, the United States, and then to call American protesters Tehran's useful idiots, and also to cite US intelligence saying that Iran had financed protesters. That is something that has been said, but we don't know the full extent of that. Do you have anything to say in response to the Israeli Prime Minister labeling American protesters in that way, given that this is a substantial part of the voting population in this country?
Yeah, let me just speak about protests in general, and including the protests that we saw in Washington yesterday, including the statement that the Director of National Intelligence released. I think it was 2 weeks ago now. So first of all, with respect to her statement, she made very clear in releasing it that the United States, this administration, strongly support the right to protest the actions that our government takes, and that we have seen Iranian support for protests, but that we understand that the vast majority of protesters in America are not taking their orders from Iran, and that most of the people who might have received support from Iran wouldn't even know that that's where it was coming from.
We know that Iran certainly has tried to meddle here. They've tried to sow discord. They've obviously contributed to some funding of some protesters, but I think to paint everybody with that brush is unfortunate and not an accurate reflection. Most of the protest activity here in the United States is peaceful. Most of it is, by the vast majority of it, is organic. It comes from people who have real concerns, and that's what a democracy is all about.
And do you agree with the with the Prime Minister's assertion that basically Israel is protecting U.S. Why is it sort of an overt criticism from leader of an ally? And what does U.S. need protection from an ally?
I'm sorry, can you?
Yeah. Well, he said when Israel fights Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, we are fighting Iran. When Israel acts to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons, we're not only protecting ourselves, we're protecting you. So why does the U.S. need protection from an ally? Isn't U.S. doing enough?
It is clear that that Israel and the United States share a concern about Iran's activities.
You know what was the most troubling part of these two press conferences? That not a single reporter, cared to challenge these utter lies. For Iran to fund Hamas, Hezbollah's Houthis, Russian attack on Ukraine, and now protests in America, the Islamic Republic has to be the most powerful country in the world. How on earth the Islamic Republic has managed to achieve this by facing years of American sanctions, ban on oil exports, and skyrocketing inflation? Don't trust me. The World Bank, managed by Americans, would tell you that consumer price inflation in Iran averaged 25.5% in the 10 years to 2022, above the Middle East and North African regional average of 5.4%. The 2022 average figure was 41.9%. I'm not joking. It's more than 41%. And we were crying in the UK when the inflation was 10 to 11%. Such is the state of Iranian economy that $1 can fetch you more than 42,000 Iranian riyals. But these clowns in the White House and the State Department expect us to believe that Iran is currently the most powerful country in the world, more powerful than the USA and the UK. You know why? Just because their master, Benjamin Netanyahu, a war criminal, said so in his speech in the US Congress.
Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. That Iran is funding and promoting anti-Israel protests in America. They want to disrupt America. For all we know, Iran is funding the anti-Israel protests that are going on right now outside this building. When the tyrants of Tehran, who hang gays from cranes and murder women for not covering their hair, are praising, promoting, and funding you, you have officially become Iran's useful idiots.
Far from feeling insulted by a foreign politician questioning the patriotism of an American, these individuals swung into action with lightning speed to defend Netanyahu's comments. And there is nothing new about it. Netanyahu wanted the West to attack Iraq. The West did that. He wanted America to attack Libya. Obama wasted no time in making his Israeli master happy. Now that criminal wants the US to be drawn into a prolonged conflict in the Middle East so that no one questions his own corruption in Israel. Guess what? The US will once again happily oblige him. My question is for every single American. Are you okay to see these individuals working at the behest of a corrupt foreign politician, a war criminal, regularly, routinely insulting your intelligence? What will it take for you to rise up against your rogue politicians and punish them electorally? Thank you very much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism.